Hello and welcome to the wrap. This is a show rounding up all things Zwift from the last week. It is racing, it's events, it's tech, it's fashion. We're live on Twitch, YouTube, and X today. We're skipping on the Facebook for this week. We are a show that's on weekly live on Wednesdays, American time, around 11 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. NZT on Thursdays. And today is episode number 87 on this Wednesday, March 20th. As you can see, Anna Russell is not sat next to me right now. I've got James Barnes, Barney NZ as my co-host out here today. I'm Nathan Guerra for this episode number 87. Now, this is a podcast as well, real quickly, for those that are looking to maybe download this and listen to just the audio. You can head on over to zwiftcommunitylive.com/podcast and download all of the episodes. And this one will be uploaded shortly after the live broadcast. Today on the wrap, we'll be talking about the big spins. We'll do a little bit of an update, mainly on what we've been up to with the big spins. Zwift Games, the final Epic Climb Championship, the overall championship, and how it all played out, as well as a inside take from someone who participated in the Zwift Games, of course, our friend James Barnes. We'll also be chatting about the latest game update 1.61, as there are a couple of interesting little tidbits in there, as well as what to race this spring. I mean, it's officially spring now, and there are some cool series actually coming up that you can get involved in the world of Zwift. So, and then today for our fashion, of course, we are going to be chatting about the Union Jack cap. We all have our bucket hat takes, so we'll just leave it at that. And I think Barney's got some interesting ones on that. Barnes, you might be muted, just so you know. I'm not sure if you muted yourself on your end or not.
No,
There we go. Okay, cool. Side. Sounds good. Okay, cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get right down into it, though. And real quickly, let's do what have you been up to? Besides obviously racing up and over the top of the epic climb, Barnes, I usually start with the co-host. Have you been doing some big spins is one of the questions, as well as other than racing Zwift Games?
Yeah, I won't lie. Like after my cooldowns after all of the Zwift Games have been a big spin ride, and then if I have been able to sneak it in, get a good old late join in, and then do it again quickly. But then this week for me has just been I've been off the bike completely, apart from my commuting in and out of the office, because it's also just been a crazy week at work. So it's been nice just to chill out from the stresses and pain, of the Zwift Games, and just kind of focus on work, because that's everything at the moment. And then now trying to refocus towards what's coming up next, which I think is going to be Worlds.
That's a long ways away. So you get a big break,
essentially,
right? Yeah, it's going to be a lot of work. I assume. I mean, that's a cool point that we'll couch for now about a lot of work for it. What you just said, so that's a really cool point actually that I want to bring in from your perspective a little bit later. But what I've been up to. Big spins, really. That's all. Like every day I get on right now, the motivation around riding my bike at this moment is essentially like, well, what's going on Zwift? Well, the big spin's going on. And I actually went to log in today to do a big spin, and Gabby was on doing her recovery ride. She's just doing all recovery and base rides this week after the Zwift Games. And she looked over at me and was like, you got everything. I was like, oh. Okay, I'll just ride TikTok and play Hearthstone. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I got everything. What am I going to do? And I did notice also that I went to go do a Zwift Games race, and the numbers which tells me that the numbers on Zwift Games directly come with the motivation with getting something out of the races, even at the community level. That once you've completed it, it's well, okay, but the big spin continues to have this motivation to keep going after it, which is really interesting how that works. And then I also wonder if there's something attached to the fact that the elite side of it is over. So you're let's go do something else, which I think maybe some of these other community races that we'll talk about at the end, like Chasing Tour, Dirt Racing Series, looking forward to ZRL, are kind of starting to take people's attention away then from the Zwift Games weekly.
Yeah, and I think it's also it's a case of people get the 3 unlocks from the Zwift Games, and now they're on to the next hot thing of what they can unlock and get, and I think that format of the big spin is really just that whole thing. It's oh, what am I going to get next? What am I going to get next? And hope I don't have to do it 13 times just to get to Atomic Cruiser, which I hear you've got, so I'm slightly jealous of that. But I do have the tri-spoke wheels, and I've got the headphones, and I think I got the helmet and socks. I just want that bucket hat.
Did you get everything out of Mercury? Did you get the Mercury kit?
I didn't get everything out of Mercury.
Well, did you? Okay, so are you doing the hack? Are you doing the hack? And do you have anything against this late join hack? Or I don't even know if you call it a hack. It's just late joining.
But I will say to you, if you are doing a late join, when you are doing a late join, don't open the pairing screen, because it won't locate you to the riders. It'll just leave you in the pen, so you then have to ride the whole ride again.
Oh, really? Okay, that's a big help. Don't open the pairing screen in the pens, or you're not getting your late join.
Yeah, so you get the late join, you end up in the late thing, and then it waits for you to locate the rider. And if you open then the pairing screen at that point, or I even say a menu, then the game just freaked out a bit and then just left me there. And I was like,
I
okay,
wonder
so
if
now I have to
that's
ride
your
18K.
specific situation or if that's actually something that's repeatable, because you might have found something that needs to be looked at and reported, that if you open a menu in the late join experience, you don't get a location of a Zwifter, actually. That's a good call out.
Yeah, we can try it out. I'll try it out and see. I'll find out at some point, maybe on the weekend, if I'm doing something, I can have a fiddle and see. Or
That's always like a Q&A thing. Is it repeatable? Can you repeat it? Show me it repeatable. We got to find that specific situation.
Show me the repo steps. Yeah.
You know, and it's interesting about things like this, like with the big spin, when you find these little corner cases and then people start taking advantage of those corner cases en masse. That's when you find little stuff like what you just said. Like, how would we have found out that finding a Zwifter and you open up a menu? Well, you didn't get a whole bunch of people doing it where somebody actually said something and noticed, like, I didn't get what I wanted out of that interaction. So we have to go fix that interaction. Always a little bit of insight there that you can't get out of those situations.
Also, it's kind of like, for me, it's like the Tron. It's like the novelty of the Tron is like wearing off a little bit because not everybody has a Tron. Now you want something else there. So I think like that's where I'm like, oh, awesome, the Atomic Cruiser's now, and so you can have something different. But then it's like, not everybody's going to be having the Atomic Cruiser. So then I think I'm going to go back to the Tron now because everybody's going to be on the Atomic Cruiser.
Well, there's a timing thing. There's a timing thing, isn't there, then? Like, about having the exclusive thing, which this is something I have a gripe about Big Spin right now, specifically on that. How is it that, and I've got a gripe in general about these community group rides where you're all just in the same kit and you look like lemmings. Fine for the Big Spin, everyone's in the same kit. But once you unlock the Big Spin kit for that stage, you should be able to wear that kit for that stage once you've unlocked it if you're going to repeat the stage.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. That'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be awesome because then it's almost like, have you noticed again in the events where you have the forced kit, but then if you're riding with a pro, then they don't wear that forced kit because they're allowed to wear their team kit or trade kit in the event. So
it creates that exclusivity. It creates that, like, I've got the thing that everybody's going after. And the fact that I'm almost like the fact that I can't wear it after I've done the event to get the thing and I'm in the event kind of feels like a smack in the face a little bit almost. Like, I'm kind of like, come on, really? You know, if there's one kit that should be able to be worn, it's the kit that is for this stage of this event. Come on. So just as a little bit of a, that one really bugged me, actually, to be honest, because I like won this thing and I'm in amongst all the people with the Big Spin literally all over all of the branding of this entire event, but yet I can't show off my, and then it's like you go out into the regular Zwifting world and those who aren't like keyed in, which there's a lot of Zwifters who aren't actually keyed in. They're just out there training on like what a kit even is. And they have no clue that McCurry kit is even from the Big Spin. They're just like, whatever, it's just another kit. But since it would be this, you know, we're very dichotomies. We like dichotomies. We like a this or that. So you'd be able to see like, hey, it's this or it's that, you know? So kind of cool. What are you sharing with me? What is this?
Oh no, I one thing I also forgot this week is, for me, I've been watching the Cape Epic, and every time this time of year when Cape Epic's on, I get like this like FOMO of it because I've done it twice in 2016, 2019, and it was some of the most amazing mountain biking that I've been lucky enough to do. And this year of the 2019 route is very similar to the 2016 route that I did, and it was some of the hardest mountain biking I've done, but it is some of the most rewarding mountain biking that I've done as well. So it's just like, it's another thing that I'm like looking at it, you know, it's quite interesting as a Swiftie you look at, but then you see this and you're like, and I'm always wondering is like, if people then are watching the racing in the series, is like, then do they get FOMO or do they get like also want to then watch the racing as well? And I think it kind of segues into the Zwift Games it was amazing to watch how well received it was with the Zwift Games and how, you know, seeing the numbers was amazing for me. And it was great to see the numbers of the people watching. It was stronger than the Zwift Grand Prix. And I think that also talks to the broadcast. The level of the broadcast was amazing and definitely improved. And the way they incorporated more of the live the webcams and such and that bringing in of that dashboard was a game changer. That was huge. That was awesome. I
Can
love
we
that.
just
That was
okay? So
awesome.
like, can we talk about then on that
All right.
front of like what were like, we'll transition then to the Zwift Games 100% and just like why was it the broadcast way up, but I think
Yeah.
alongside of the broadcast was the competition's focus on individuals. I think that is at the heart of cycling fandom, that following along with individuals and the teams that they're a part of are a secondary thing. That's great and it's awesome and everything, but that the individual's journey and through the series and through each and every competition and who you're rooting for there, I think was absolutely key to why the numbers were higher. I think, as well as the motivation for individuals then to be like, I want to be like so and so. You know what I mean? It's not like
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And you see the work behind it, like that the people are doing to do it. It's like, we were talking a bit off stream before it, and I think it's definitely, for a lot of us, it's a second job. It takes the amount of time of a second job, and especially with these 3-week series with the weigh-ins and such as well. You're watching what you're eating really carefully for 3 weeks. You're really trying to be careful not to get sick. You're trying to make sure you're on par. You make sure that your whole program is now building yourself up so that you're peaking for the right time. And it's a big, but seeing, and then this level of the broadcast being raised where now you can see that they've brought in finally the distance to go markers, which was something you really thought, but then also the gaps between the groups as well was something really cool as well. And you could really see how the efforts of the riders were translating, the real life efforts on the webcams were translating to the efforts in the game too. And then you kind of you had that much more personal connection with the event and with the riders than I think you've ever had before.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually, that the personal connection to the riders was able to really be pulled out through this. And that has everything to do with that it was not a team competition, it was an individual competition. You could have a team aspect to it, but the individuals then made way more sense to why you were seeing the athletes. And then you could even pull data out about those individuals being focused on in an overall narrative, an overall story in each competition, as well as within the overall championship. So I think that was absolutely key to it and why it was a huge part to that success. We'll talk about the idea of it being like pro sports and your amount of effort being put into that. We'll couch that for a second here and talk directly more to, let's talk directly how things played out though in the men's and the women's epic climb. Cause that final climb championship was insane. Like, I mean, I couldn't believe how the men's played out. Freddie Ovett taking the win. I did not predict that at all. Honestly, I didn't think that, I didn't put him on the radar for being that kind of a climber. I didn't think that. Did you?
He rode 200Ks the day before, but I think it also talks to the fact as well of, shame Jason Osborne had his trainer unplug and then had the flat tires, they call it, and then to watch him come past me, it's like 6-7 watts a kilo. He just literally made me felt like I was standing still for the rate he went up, and the rate that those mountain goats went up there, averaging 6 watts a kilo, it was unbelievable to watch. And the level of the racing is so high, but it also shows you as well the power of being able to sit there, be light enough and strong enough to sit there. Tom Thrall averaging 400 watts for the whole thing, is being able to sit there and ride in the bunch as hard as you can and sit there as hard as you can. But then here's me at 75 kilos, just trying to do my best as I can.
Yeah, looking here, as you were saying, the kind of numbers. This is the finish here, and we had a group of 4 coming up. It was absolutely insane. We saw behind Eric Levinson. How about him on the day, and Neil Fred? Those were solid efforts from them. Look at that, 22 seconds back, only 26 seconds back. They had a solid group, I think, of almost 11 until about halfway, and then it did get dropped off.
The thing that was really interesting to me is at the bottom, the bottom 5 corners, you see how big the group was, but then you see how it didn't, the group, then you call it, say, to the 20-minute mark, and then how quickly then suddenly shattered. You can see
right
the guys
at that
had
20-minute mark.
Yeah. And then you see all the guys see the guys fading at the 10-minute mark, then the 15-minute mark, then the 20-minute mark, and then it just kind of like, I rode a very steady planned ride and then was trying to, basically playing my puckman one by one by one. But then watching these guys to be basically a 5-man group at the top was just insane.
And you wanted to chat a little bit about the bringing in the analysts and like different people from the community as well. That was something in pre-productions you really thought was an amazing thing that happened. I mean, to have Jen Rio, to have yourself, we had Martin Martins on. We had a lot of really great individuals from the community that we were able to highlight and bring their perspectives in.
And I think that again, that talks to that whole thing of the broadcast being, the races being making it more personal. You're now bringing on the people who are racing, and the public and the people watching in are able to realize that, meet us and see us and talk to us outside of cycling and get our insights and pick our brains and such. And I think that's also why I tend to also enjoy the live streaming, is that people can get to see and talk to me and get to know me outside of the racing as well. So it's that whole interacting with the community and trying to just spread the word per se, and just realize that we are people. We're not just serious racers, and we're not just there to win and rip each other's legs off and be the first across the line.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And I think putting a face to the avatar even closer, and that is something that's a little bit different with, I think, esports too, is, I mean, if it's taken advantage of, and there are those personalities out there that you have the opportunity to put them front and center and have a conversation with them in a little bit different way, perhaps in an accessible way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been this theme around putting things online in this kind of a way, with a virtual world, is the connectivity and the closeness that you can have, which is kind of odd that, like, you'd say the closeness that you can have, right? Which you don't. It's kind of removed.
So you see, it's the personalities thing, and I don't know. You've seen obviously Valtteri Bottas with his riding and then his mullets, and I'll say, I've got to find it to you and I'll send it to you. Is that obviously now it's the Melbourne Grand Prix this weekend? You must see the advert that him and Rideshare put together for the Melbourne Grand Prix. It is when you watch it, you understand like how personalities and things just become such a marketable thing, and to bring awareness and like attract more people and just make it, because he's taking it, making it funny. And then more people are like, oh no, it's not just serious and not just about racing. It's just actually, it gives you a nice warm fuzzy feeling on the inside out. I think it's something that is really great that is changed recently with the broadcasts, with bringing on more people and because it makes us, again, not just seem like robots and athletes. Actually makes us, people realize we are human beings.
Relatable. It's relatable.
Yeah, relatable.
Yeah, the relatable side of things. That's a great point, actually. And I think we are getting more of that. I like the thing you brought out there too about personalities and how they're extremely marketable, and that you can really do something with them if you bring them out, but people have to be able to relate to it. And if if that's not there isn't anything really to watch in some ways, And so I think that's a part of it though too, is the relatability that we've seen then with the participation numbers. Like the participation numbers, over 100,000 people rode the community Zwift Games races. It might be pushing even higher than, it might be doubling that. I don't know. Like that was a number that came in about halfway through. So that's a pretty massive amount of people. Really cool to see. Now, one thing that might be interesting, like we're seeing it drop off probably a little bit, is how related is that to the elites versus to having to chase something. So, I mean, there's something maybe down the road to get some answers from with Zwift to see like, well, what's the takeaway? Cause, and what motivates people to interact in this space. Okay.
The impact of spin to win. And that whole interacting, because then spin to win came during basically after the second
race. And are these two totally different segments of Zwift, or is it a little bit of both, and it has to do with what you're doing to motivate him? Like that's
Yep.
another one too. That's a pretty big one. Like how much crossover is there? That'd be a really interesting one. But as far as how this played out, if you didn't see, make sure to go watch it back. This is it's split up, and when I watched this at the end, I had a question mark in my head. Was Perrin going to be able to just lead this out and get the better of everybody else by just making it as hard as possible? I think Thomas Perrin knew, and he's your teammate, so you'll have some inside information about this, I would think, but knew that he didn't have a kick against these guys, and he had to just go as hard as he possibly could to break them, because if he brings Ovid and Tugels to the line, they're going to kick over the top.
Exactly that, and then you can see him. He's going full gas on the steepest part of the final bit to try and create that separation and try and create that, put them under a bit more pressure. And when you look at it as well, when you look at Lennart, in that final bit, he was pushing more power than Thomas, but wasn't able to come over the top. And I think that comes down basically to the effort and just being exhausted, and just kind of that was it. And it was, to watching it back, it was a masterclass of drafting and racing by all of them, and then Thomas trying to put everybody to the sword and using the terrain to his advantage to try and you could see here that you could see between Tugels and Thomas, you could see the high Zwiftcraft compared to Freddie and Leonard.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, in the end, Ovid, he sat in, though, it looked like to me, and waited. He was at the back and waited and waited and waited till the opportune moment. And then there was just a reality. He had 13 watts per kilogram to give at the end of the race. I mean,
mental.
Like what?
Well, clearly those Mathieu van der Poel training hours paid off. Like that was just like
how they just climbed a 33-minute Alp or whatever that was, and he had 13 watt per kilogram kick still.
And to give you an idea as well, like
that's what I do if I'm in a sprint just normally, dude. Like
it's scary, and that climb of mine was 30 seconds slower than my PB, which was on a climbing setup. So if, you take 30 seconds off their times for neutral bikes too, and then you get their true time, and Leonard got a top 10 overall time with obviously Freddie as well, and it just blows your mind.
So let's talk a little bit to the overall with Harris and Thrall battle. That was really interesting to see.
That was cool.
But it was the only conversation we thought that was there. And then all of a sudden Ovid just says, nah, you know what I mean? Like what?
Absolutely ripped it. He had a ripper. He had such a ripper of a day. Like, kudos to him, and and all of it to him. Like, he had an absolute ripper of a day. So
he actually said at the end he hadn't even thought about the overall. He said at the end that he didn't think that he could actually take it, which is interesting. But, shout out to Josh Harris, man. The consistency that he had to be there, and he had a really solid day, as well as Thrall. I mean, both of them super solid days. Just, it was just a little bit too much to be able to handle at the end. I mean, when it comes to the overall, it ended up actually being, though, Josh ended up beating out Thrall on the day, though. Where did that come from? He was 84, 91. It goes to show that a climbing race, when a lot of talent shows up, can completely go all over the place, right? What
would also be interesting is if they removed, say, Leonard from that race points, because he wasn't racing for overall because he didn't do the sprint, would be if you went down to, say, got rid of Jason and the people who weren't racing for overall, take them out of that climb race and then and only slot in and count the people towards the overall that were there. And it would be interesting to see that effect. You see in terms of the women's race, you saw KK drop back to help her teammate, because obviously only the winner took money. So then she was trying to help her teammate make sure that she sacrificed her third place overall, potentially on the day, to make sure that her teammate won overall, which was high, kudos to her and hats off to her, which was just such a great move. So, and we were talking, would the racing have changed also in the men's and the women's if they then paid for overall down to say 10th place, and then 10th or 15th place overall, and then down to 5th place per stage. Would that have changed? Would that change the whole dynamic of the racing too?
Well, that's a much that's a larger conversation for sure, and we can talk about that one. Let's first get into how it played out on the day, and then we'll go into that conversation, because that is a much larger conversation actually to have, and we'll make some quick points on that one, and then move on. But let's talk about how it actually played out on the day, because for the women's side of things, from the get-go, this is Illy Gardner, and she just went, and it was just game over.
What a ride. What a massive
just
ride.
Game over.
200 beats per minute, 190 beats per minute average, her heart just absolutely going like a little hummingbird, and she just literally, she's tiny, and this race was designed for her, built for her, and she just absolutely ripped it apart.
Yeah, 6.4 watts per kilogram, 270 watts, and she just got a gap. And I think what she was doing here was getting herself into a comfortable spot, so then she could just race her race, right? Break everybody up front and then get into my comfortable mode. And so then you're not dragging anybody with you, right? That's exactly what I would want, rather than setting a steady tempo that I know I can hold all the way to the top right from the get-go, but then there's just people hanging on and I'm taking a risk a little bit, especially with Belforth being in the race. You don't want somebody like Emma Belforth just sitting on your wheel, right? And so, okay, crack it from the get-go, get into my tempo. I'm comfortable that nobody's just going to hang onto my wheel. Go for it.
And that's what I try to do. I try to hold on to the front group as long as I could. Then I saw the speed of them going up to that first corner, so I realized, okay, let's just take it a little bit easier, and then settled into my rhythm, and off I went, and just kind of chugged my way up. I was aiming. I had originally aimed at 380, but I ended up just sitting at 400 and averaged 402 watts for the whole climb.
402.
So that was it.
402.
402. Yeah.
You averaged 402 watts for this climb, and that got you a what place?
28th or
28th place.
That's it.
Barney
that's the thing. It's
402
crazy,
watts for this climb, and then ended up with 28th place. That just goes to show the level. The level.
Hey, PB numbers
the level.
15 overall.
No, it's amazing. I'm not downplaying it at all. I'm just saying to the level. The level is insane, James.
And that's talks to how we basically having to, if you're wanting to compete and this level and be competitive, you're basically having to commit a second job time and effort and mental strength and everything in preparation and making sure you are, that again comes down to the marginal gains, waxing your chains and stuff, stuff that Greg Abbott.
I actually, every race I did, I waxed the chain. I freaking dusted the chain, got it absolutely perfect for Gabby before every single race. Buttery smooth, ready to go. Every watt matters. It's
And another one now you'll talk about is virtual shifting. So you can put the bike in the gear, make sure the chain line is straight, and then I use virtual shifting up the alt. That was also.
I bet you that was huge. That was huge. Yeah, that was part of the reason I wanted to make sure that her chain was as shiftable as possible without a lot of grinding all over, because she doesn't have virtual shifting. So it was that's great.
So good. I could control my cadence, ride to my cadence. I could so my knees didn't blow out. Somehow Thomas Thrall and Brian can just hold that crazy low cadence without blowing their knees out at massive power. And I just chugged away, and then try to use my Zwift Cross as best I can when it went flat, push the power hard, so then accelerate into it. And then I definitely saw how I was able to catch riders and drop riders between those stages, and as best I can, and just hold on to the effort and just got to the top as fast as I could.
So the way that these played out in both the men's and the women's, in the women's here, you do see that it just blew apart because of Illy Gardner's effort up front, and then it ended up with a group of about 4 or 5. And then the overall championship was playing out. Now it was much, the overall championship in the men's side of things got decided in the final sprint with Ovid. This one played out throughout with a lot of back and forth actually between Guerra and between Gabriella and Fur. Actually, Fur set a steady tempo from the get-go, and I think the question mark in 2024's head from the get-go was whether or not Kristen could have a good enough day to beat Guerra. And if she could, then she would go ahead and do so and get her overall spot. Because right now, Kolchinski's sitting in third place overall, right? So if she can, with where she's at, but she might be able to bump herself up in the overall if Guerra fades. And so she might be able to, they might be able to go 1-2 or something like that if Kristen's has the day that she's looking for, right? So,
and could KK basically put Gabby under pressure, make her chase her, get her to blow up, and then catastrophically fall down fall backwards, and then KK could just sit up and let in that whole thing again, that whole dynamic, that team dynamic there too. It's just there's so many possibilities here as well, and as much as it was an individual, you could say it was also a team.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that's the cool thing about the way that if you focus in on the individuals, the teams as a secondary end up becoming a major part of it for the individual battles though, right? Like in order to get something for the individual, which is such a great new dynamic we have, I think, outside of what was happening with the Zwift Grand Prix. So how it ended up playing out then though is Illy Gardner ends up just walking away with it, and taking it down. As far as the overall for that day goes, big effort from her from bottom to top, takes it down. And then there was the battle between Fur and Guerra that ended up playing out actually with Kristen Kolchinski sitting up once she saw that she couldn't beat Guerra and goes back to take Fur all the way to the top of the climb and ends up letting Fur beat her for the points to take the overall.
Yeah. It was a great thing. It was actually, I think from the women's race was a really great way to watch and made a really nail biting finish because you was like, is she gonna do it? Is she gonna make it? Yeah, did the tempo that she set, was it correct? Was it the right tactic? Is it, is somebody, because then they caught Stephanie
Sidlick.
At the end.
Sidlick.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like sitting there going, oh my gosh, like panic, nerves, and you just sitting there going, oh, nail bite.
Because Sidlick actually caught them back, actually. Sidlick caught them back and went by, and it was like this back and forth a little bit. Mika was a little ways back, and was she going to get involved because she's still fighting for a top place overall? So there was a lot. Sandrine at the end didn't have the greatest day out there, so that changed things up a whole bunch. So there was a lot of back and forth, and 2024 showed up. Catherine Fur absolutely had a ride of her life in order to take down that overall. So that's how it ended up playing out before the overall championship. Now, there were some conversations then though afterwards that were taking place that we'll talk about as far as what does this mean for the overall of the sport? And what is your feeling right now for the overall of the sport? Like your takeaway as an athlete that's a part of this. How are you what does this do for you? You know what I mean? Like as a, wow, this is taking off. Where is it at as far as that goes?
I'm excited because I think the way we've seen how the level of the broadcast has increased has made it, as a rider, has made it better because it makes you as a person and as a team more marketable, which then makes you the ability to bring on sponsors and such and say to other companies, hey, would you like to look and getting involved? And again, it's we're forever grateful for Ian and Ensure jumping on board because they took the leap of faith and he now sees and he's just it's great that whole. And that's the thing. It's so now we just okay, so what's next? And what's the next big thing? And how can we now take it? Because we've taken another step forward. So now how can we take that next step to another bigger step forward? And how can we, what's next? And what, okay, but then also being critical of it, what can we change? What can we look back and say, okay, what can we do better to make the next one even better?
So, okay, so on the goods, So you said there was great broadcast, great marketability from the broadcast. It helps you out a ton to be able to go back to your sponsors and be like, look, this was awesome. The viewership is growing. There was one other thing I wanted to highlight there too. The community connection. the community connection, I think,
Yeah,
is a
community
big
connection
one,
and like the
because people
involvement
can
was
get
huge.
in. Anyone can get into that. Huge one there.
And that was huge because also I think that for me is the one mistake with the round Zwift Grand Prix is that there's no community connection. That whole promotion relegation system we've spoken about in the past, so just not going on to that again, which I think is a shame. And I think that community is great. But again, what I also really loved about it is that it also meant that there was a wider pool of talent, which meant the talent and the level of racing was higher. There was such a good quality, such high quality racing. And yes, obviously the way the racing changed, the dynamic of the race changed from a standard race because now there's money on the line. So I think everybody was a bit more hesitant, and everybody generally, because there was big reward for the end, everybody tended to wait for the end and the big final push at the end rather than trying to go for Hail Mary.
Okay. I'm couching that over and over again. Like I'm couching that over and over. We can keep because that is a huge player here. Not just and I want to say also, so yes, the tactics changed because it was winner take all. So then it also creates more negative racing, actually. It doesn't make it so that, because if you are racing for, let's say, a top, so we can start going on that one a little bit. But one more time though, on how awesome things were, also on the idea of how high the level was, as well as the formats. It highlighted each and every type of rider you could find out there, and everybody had a chance to shine. And it really, with the formats, if you left that alone and you take the prize structure out, it shows off who the best is. As long as the motivations stay all the way through for everybody to keep showing up and everybody to race as hard as they possibly can, if you put the right prize structures in, that matters. And the reason why that matters the most, and I'll start in on this, is because it is at the peak of the hierarchy of motivations, right? Like there is the motivation to win for the motivation to win in and of itself. There's secondary there, which goes right alongside this with the corollary of this is a professional, at least at the level of investment sport, right? So you're at the level now, the money's gotten involved, and that automatically has the assumption built into, we are going to attract athletes that have made this a life work. And now they are going to go after this with that kind of an investment. And so the winner take all then strategy kind of, that one, we said this 4 weeks ago, and I really think that reverse course should have happened. Like, because we saw the outcomes of what happens when you have a winner take all situation, which I think dilutes things quite a bit when it comes to some of the outcomes that we get. Now, it's just the learnings. I think that everything else around this is absolutely awesome and really, really good, but it's a really kind of like icky learning. Like, ooh, we really, really, really should have done that differently. And I want you to speak to it though, because you were directly into it.
Yeah, I think I think it affected the racing in such a way that you didn't think of it at first, and when they thought of setting up that prize pool, but then looking back at it, you can see how it affected the Zwift Grand Prix, because in the men's side there was only 3 teams in contention by the end of it. Now, what was the motivation of the other team to keep turning up? Because now, well, they've got no chance in winning money, and I think that also played into the hands, into the effect of the other riders turning up consistently for all 3 events. And and then I don't think it's a case of being disrespectful to the organizers for not turning up all 3 if there's nothing for you as a person because you're not getting anything out of it. You're putting in all this effort and to get to this level. Now you're putting as much as to get in, but then you're not getting monetary value out of it, but you're not getting that sense of, okay, well, I'm going to compete and I'm going to fight somebody for 10th place because there's something reward behind it. I did it.
Wait, disrespectful? Like the idea of things being disrespectful. That's not disrespectful at all. Like if you didn't pay the actors of a movie, who would be the person that was disrespectful? I mean, and I'm not saying that that's how it works. Like, but if it's not set up correctly, the person who's being disrespectful in that situation would be the producer of the movie, not the other way around. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's just, I'm just like,
if you bring in the term disrespectful, there's no, but that you like, like it. it would be absolutely silly for an event organizer to be mad at people for not showing up to their event. Like the idea is you create an attractive event and then people want to show up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
like, so I mean that. So, no, but
But
so go ahead.
so like yeah, I think it was really good, and I think it was really great, and at the level of racing, I think was really good, and the courses I think were really cool for the courses that they chose. Maybe race one of the sprint I think was the wrong course, to be honest. That wasn't really a sprint. That was just a weird a weird race, with the loop and just finishing down there, and yeah, of course, there could be changes in the courses and stuff. That epic route I think was great, but think I think it also then tended to then hamper the ones and need for a breakaway, because now because that you would have, as an individual in a breakaway, would have lost so much time in a breakaway versus that bunch kick. So now, do you want to risk it all for that breakaway and being caught and losing it, because you're gonna have to, it's that whole thing
I don't
there.
know.
So could they have
I
changed
think that was a
it?
sprint championship. That's my take. So I
Well, I'm
think
talking
that
I'm talking the epic race.
oh,
I'm
the
talking the
epic.
epic
Oh,
race.
sorry. Okay, the
The epic
epic.
race, finishing on top of the
So
KOM.
you don't think that that was like a
I
long
don't.
endurance effort?
Yeah, no. So it was long endurance effort, but I'm talking the finish, particularly finishing at the top of the KOM, the hilly KOM. Could they have maybe put it, say, on halfway up the epic KOM or somewhere else? I think they missed something by going up the epic KOM forwards. I think that could have made that a really challenging route too, because it's a very draftable route, but it also allows for really dynamic racing going up there too.
Hmm.
And so, and I'm glad they
Hmm.
added the jungle, because that jungle really hurt and always just hurts. So it's that, I think we could have made it a really good 130k race, because we could have thrown the epic in after going up the jungle. You ride across the cliff, go up there, and come down the other side. But I think I was always thinking, we're discussing, is how did the dynamic of the bunch and the finish of it being at top of the hilly KOM affect that race? See,
How
I'm gonna let you
did
ponder over that. Back to
so
you.
how did
So,
the hilly KOM affect the
so
race for the epic? I think
yeah.
for me, I think that that was absolutely amazing. Personally, I think that
Oh, it was great. No,
the
huge effort,
finish
like
there,
massive.
because it was a punchy finish like that, was I don't know. I don't personally. I think it was the perfect. I think I was the perfect way to prove who had it for a short kick after that amount of distance in the legs, that amount of fatigue in the
Yeah.
legs. You could have a lot of, and here's the thing on that one, I do think you could have different scenarios. I would agree with that, where it would slightly highlight one kind of a rider over another, but it would still be,
Yeah.
do you have it? And it wouldn't be just a pure climb, like after that amount of distance, as long as you don't just put a mountain at the end. Like then I'd be like, this is just who the climbers are, like that one. I don't know. I don't think you could just put a mountain at the end.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I just but again, as a whole, I think the courses were really good. I just think the only one I've got a bit of a question mark is that loop de loop. Change like that 200 something
you didn't
meters
like
of
that
climbing
one?
in a figure. It's brutal. It hurt, but that's not a sprint course. You're having a minute and a half, 2 minute
Yeah, but
effort,
okay.
and
I
there's no
think there was
sprint
the
course.
motivation there was that you had like 200 to 300 riders showing up, and you had to like do something to make it kind of whittled down a little bit. So you had to have people hang.
I
Who's the
agree.
sprinters
That
who
was
can
that.
hang on? I think that's the idea.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think if I would have done it differently. You could have gone
So how
over the
would have you done
KOM,
it
down the other
differently
side, and
to
then through the
get?
S.
How would you have done it differently to get the best sprinters if you could only take 30 through? Or would you have done it differently altogether with the whole 30 through
I
thing?
think, yeah, I would have maybe done it in such a way we've gone up and over the KOM, down the back, and then rather than going through the Italian villas, just as you go over the bridge, you turn right, go straight through the sprint arch there, and you cut up through the S's and go down, because then it allows you to still posture in terms of positioning, and it's not just one long drawn out 500-meter sprint. because that's kind of what race 1 was.
I see what you're
It
saying.
wasn't a
Okay.
sprint; it was a long effort. It was a long
So, like,
800
have it
meter
finish
effort.
at the end of the SEs, or what are you thinking there? Or have it
You can even
finish?
have it finishing at the sprint banner, at the green sprint banner, because it's more of a it's not a sprint. It's not high positioning yourself in the bunch in the correct place, and then there's it's
Oh, so go through
the
Ocean
race 1 was
Boulevard. Go back through Ocean Boulevard and go the other
yeah,
direction.
you could do that.
Yeah, I
Yeah, you
see
could
what
do
you're
that.
saying.
Yeah.
To kind of like get the okay, I could see that. I could see that. That's not a bad. That's a
It's
good.
just like that.
I kind of like what you're saying there because otherwise,
Or
because
finish it, or actually finish in the volcano. There you go. You could carry on, gone and finish through the volcano if you wanted. Just then you could have a flat run into the volcano. It's that whole. It's just this. So that's my only like critique maybe of the courses. Race 2 of the sprint. Really
so don't
cool.
go over the
Last
hilly
good sprint.
KOM twice on loop to loop. Instead, maybe one time up and over around, and then have a course that goes through Ocean Boulevard or over to the volcano that has more of a sprint setup. The volcano though doesn't. The volcano that
Not a
sprint is kind
volcano,
of uphill.
not laps of the. No, but you kind of. But then you come through. You come from the S's side. So you come. So if you're coming from the downtown, you turn right to go towards the volcano, over the bridge, and you get that T junction. You turn left, and then you turn right and over, and then there's that little kick towards the finish, that lap, and that's how I would have finished. I wouldn't come the other way around and up the long drag
Gotcha.
from
Okay.
that way around.
Huh. I like the Ocean Boulevard idea with a finish that happens either traditional downhill into Watopia through the Essies or just finish at the sprint banner after Italian Village. Either one of those would be pretty cool, actually. That would be really, I would really, and that would be more of a traditional sprint, actually. Because you're kind of right that it was like this, like crazy downhill, and then it was just this massive pack, and like those two things together kind of created a little bit too much randomness. Just a little bit too much. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Well, like again, a good example is like Neil Freyat. Neil Freyat did huge numbers, but then didn't make it through.
Yeah,
so
and that's
positioning was out of
yeah,
it's
and
not
like
really was a sprint. And there was
uncontrollable positioning, like the amount of randomness to it was a little bit uncontrollable positioning, a little bit. I'd agree with that one. I would. That's a tough one with 300 riders like that. Like it's almost like.
Well, no,
it's almost like too much of a
it was 96 riders.
Whatever. Okay, 96 riders, but it's a little bit of a dice roll. It's a dice roll, is what I'm saying, rather than
a dice roll.
Maybe something that's a little bit more controllable. So that's a really good point. Actually, is that you got to have setups that don't feel like too much of a dice roll. And let's talk to that then, though. Let's go into the cash conversation just a little bit, because I said a little bit earlier, you have this part of the whole competition that is the pinnacle, not the pinnacle, but it's one of the major motivational structures that trickle down into the entirety of all the motivations and the whys that people are going to do one thing or another. And I think that there's a methods that can kill the motive, because I think the motivation is 100% awesome and great and like grow the sport 100%. And this is how we're going to do it. But the methods that you do can sometimes kill the motive. And the method of winner takes all, I think, killed some of the motive of finding the highest competition and crowning, like, amongst the rule set that was set here. Like, we had 35 finishers in the women's field. And I don't think that's the athlete's fault. Like, they went and did something else. And the reason why is because there wasn't any kind, the motivation to compete now was gone. Like, especially when you make it about the money, at that point, it's like, hey, it's about the money. Look at this. Wow. But don't pay attention to the money. But don't pay attention to that. It's not that big of a deal. Race for something. It's like, you don't get to have your cake and eat it too. You made it about the money. Now we have to like create the right motivational sets around the money. And I think there was a big miss on that one.
Yeah, and I think it's also as well, like you look at it, like what they could also do is give the people who did Zwift Games, or now what they call the Zwift Elite thing, is they give them a blue, give us a blue jersey, so then the community can easily call us out and see us, like the pro, like the green pro or the orange pro jerseys, like that sort of thing. People
that'd be cool
to have
some exclusive kits that like the top 10, 20, 30 riders or something in the Zwift Games would be able to have.
Yeah, or like, or you put all your Zwift games, all your Zwift GP riders, at that time have a blue, so then the people in the community, when they can see the people out riding and training, they can easily see and distinguish who these people are.
That's cool. Now that'd be a lot of creative work though, in order to make sure
Not
that
just
you're
not a jersey
representing.
for them to ride in. It's just
Oh, just a
on the
little
leaderboard
mark.
next to your
Just a
name.
little
Yeah,
mark
just a little
next to their
mark.
name. Oh, yeah, that's cool. That'd be
That
really
sort of thing.
cool.
So it's, again, really easy to manage from Zwift side. Really easy thing that, okay, who's the current list of this? Who's this? Cool, add these people to this,
This
take
is
these people
someone
off the
who's
list. Done.
competing in our Zwift games. There you go, little marker on them. Something that they get out
Yeah.
of. That would be an easy one that doesn't involve any cash whatsoever, where you guys get some recognition in and amongst the community for the amount of effort that you're putting in.
Yeah. And I think I think that would be really cool. And that, again, you look at it as well, people were saying, oh, like the Olympic series, they should give gold, silver, bronze, to equipment or a Tron bike per se to the people who got those medals, at the Olympic Games, which again would be something really cool. And people say, oh, that's an exclusive thing. Oh, what is that? Oh, what is the silver Tron? Okay, it's because they got silver at the Olympic series.
Yeah.
It's
So
that
part
sort
of
of
so
it
why
then
one
makes it.
question, okay, so what else and why would somebody go somewhere else instead of completing the Zwift games? Like 35 finishers in the women's field, in the men's field, Lionel Vliasin, there was a bunch of even amongst the top feature riders that just weren't showing
Yeah.
up. And I wanted to speak to this a little bit, there is a time crunch, like as elite athletes have to think about. I have a timing of my peak fitness as well as my training, and it's a limited resource. This isn't just like pastime resources, right? This is like I have a limited resource of energy. Like it isn't just the training hours. Like I've backed off my training hours recently, and the reality of the amount of energy that's coming back into my life is insane, James. In like
It's
I
scary.
can't believe how
Yeah.
much energy I have in my life right now versus when I was training 20 to 30 hours a week. Like it's not, you get another 10 to 20 hours of time spent just recovering, and the rest of your life suffers a little bit too with how much you can give to the relationships and your work. And
Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
wait a second.
It's
And
huge. It's
so
massive. The time commitment's huge, and like the
it
effort
is.
and the sacrifices everywhere is huge.
And so, as soon as the resources and the structure that is providing the event have those things involved, the motivations have to be set up correctly for those types of efforts being put in a shared kind of space. Like, and I think there's a little bit of like, well, we're putting on this event, you should show up. And it's like, the motivation has to be right in order to do that, or else it's going to go elsewhere because there's a limited resource that the riders have that they have to put somewhere. So I'd like all of these other riders, they have other goals then that they have to go and take, because it's like they've built this machine that has or this product that they have, right? But the product is sitting there, and it's kind of like like if I made you a meatloaf or I made you a turkey dinner, right? And it was like, I have to get someone to consume this within a certain period of time or it goes bad, right? That's kind of what it's like. And it's like, if this doesn't get used right now for something worthwhile, it was a waste for me. And so I think there's a lot. Go ahead.
No, sorry. I think we saw the people like going away and moving their focus. You said using the energy elsewhere. I think you saw the people going towards the certain Sunday race club because it happened to be at around the same time as well. So that means that they could perform better and they had a chance at winning.
Or in
money
real life
there.
too. We saw whoosh as well as in real life things take over because they could get something out. Even if there wasn't like money on the line, there was a personal experience they could get out of or better training that they would just need for in real life.
Or a family commitment or something that they just realize that, look, they're fighting for 15th, 20th place overall is just not worth the effort. I'd rather give it towards my family or something else that I need to do right now because that is bigger impact and that actually will have an influence into my life rather than doing this race.
So there's one statement then is that the motivation here on the playground needs to be that like people want to play. And I remember that you kind of knew the game was over when like the real serious competitors stopped showing up on the playground, and you were like, okay, I might win, but I'm winning because certain people aren't showing up, and I kind of know the game is ending. Like we're gonna have to find a new game or a new playground or a new group of kids to play with because because they don't want to.
All the field's not the top level field. The level of racing's not as high as it could be. So then, wait, you have that weird, dirty feeling. Yes, you're still winning, but you don't feel like you're racing the best people and the best people possible. So where are they racing? I want to go race them. So I can. That whole thing again. The old adage saying is steal, sharpen, steal. So you want to go sharpen and raise your game. So you want to race the best people possible. So where are they racing? So I need to go race with them.
Exactly, and so from race 1, we saw decreased numbers, right? And I think from race 1, the conversation already was, do I have any chance whatsoever at the main motivating factor? No, but if we had a top 20 or top 10 and just spread out just a little bit, no more cash. It wasn't like more cash was needed. Just spread it out a little bit more. Even in top 5, you would have had a lot more people going, I have a chance at top 5. I'm going to roll the dice at that. And it would have made the racing more interesting in the epic as well. Because people would have been taking more chances even there to try and get more points in the top 10. Because if I break this apart and I get 8th place with a group that gets away, I get more points toward the final climb, and all that's going to be worked out. So you have all these more conversations being created overall, just because there's more motivation across top 5, top 10, even to top 20. Now to do top 20, the prize pool probably would have to be bigger. You know what I mean? Top 20 is a little too stretching it a little too far to make it kind of like make sense. James, you think?
Even this, okay, take the 2 primes, so you get $2,000 for the primes. You shorten it down to say $250 for the prime, and then you dilute it maybe to the top 4. But then you take that money and you sprinkle in another 2 primes somewhere else. You talk at maybe the jungle area and somewhere along that backstrection where the racing got really dull because it was really flat and fast, but then nobody really wanted to try. You could kind of, you could sprinkle something in there to maybe.
I got a question real quick.
Then again, it also changes but then the priming also, because there's money on the line, it also changes the dynamics, and nobody wanted to sprint away because of that.
So now the effect of that, 2 things. That is about the field, right? And that will create a motivation in the field, and those who have a merit to earn those things will earn those things, and it will motivate the rest of the field who aren't earning those things to continue to want to earn those things. But when it's totally out of your shot, you're just hitting a slot machine. It's like, what, like, you know what I mean? Or I have to be the absolute best of the best in the entire world. So then people just get totally demotivated. Exactly. But on the other, so there's that part of it. And then there's also, do you think it really changes the marketing, whether or not, like, look, $110,000 overall is great marketing versus $10,000 to one person? Like, how, like that all just went, and I am so happy for those people. That's so great. I'm not anything against that for those people. So stoked for them. But like, as far as the use of it for the sport, like, it kind of, it's like it wouldn't have changed the marketing. It would, but here's the thing: it wouldn't have changed the marketing. Is what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is like, if you're trying to do a big wow,
for the marketing people, it would have changed the marketing, because they can't say that there's a prize pool of $100 and something thousand.
No, it is still. It is. That's my point. It doesn't change it. It doesn't change it at all. You still have the wow factor. But yet it supports the entirety of the thing.
Stole my money.
You what's that?
I'm just glad Tepi stole my money.
It went to the right person? Oh my gosh. It went to the right person.
It. Like, again, like, you look at the people who won the money and stuff, are like so stoked. Like, and kudos to them for the efforts and stuff around it, and it was
So it's not just about the money, though. It's about finding the best competitor. But it sits. Now, here's the thing, though. I got to be clear about this, though. I got to be super clear, because when you say that, then you go, oh, yeah, shit. No, wait a second. it's not just about the money. It sits right underneath finding the best at the skill, because it's rewarding
and
the best people across this entirety of the sport to reward them for their skill. And if they don't feel like they're going to be rewarded, they're not going to keep on showing up. Well, that's built in though. That's built in, right? If you do the structuring of it, that you'll find the absolute best by rewarding everybody who's put that on. And if you don't do that, the show's going to go somewhere else. That's the main point, I think, across this is like, you know, for a long time, Zwift have had the privilege and awesome like luxury because they built this space, because they put the resources in to say like, well, people will just show up to our competitions. But now it's like, well, when you hit spring, people start going somewhere else. And it was always like that, where it was like, well, how do we keep this going? How do we keep this going? But now there's other places at Indivilo, My Whoosh. I don't know who else might be popping up in this space where people might start going and competing elsewhere. I saw a couple of other things being used in the eastern side of the world where there might have been some cash on the line as well, where I'm like, okay, other stuff is popping up, and you don't have that luxury anymore where you're the only place to go to prove the best competition. And if people can start using that turkey dinner, that limited resource that they have that puts on your shows for you, okay, you got to actually structure that stuff correctly. Otherwise there's might be, so like, but overall it's like, great, this is awesome for the sport. Just make sure that we're trickling the motivations down correctly, I would say, would be my only feedback on this space.
Yeah, and that's it again. But that's the thing. I think we're hyper focusing on one small aspect that is, you know. And I think
as a pro athlete, though, like, okay, as a pro for you, and I'm also like I guess I'm passionate about this because I've seen the largest state mountain bike series in the nation slowly fade from the elites disappearing. Like, you know, so the community follows the elites a lot of times.
But then as well, you look at it as well, like, look at the work. If you look at it then, okay, in your area, look at what like that Lifetime Grand Prix has done. How massive has that turned into for like all those other events, and then raise that whole mass participation events across the whole of, you know, and then bringing in international riders for this series because of, you know, and it was money, looked like money down to top 10 was on the podium, and that was it. And it looked like, but it also looked like a really cool event where the people, again, it was also the people that were involved in the series were really nice people, and they were really supportive of each other. You know, they had that whole series on YouTube, which was really cool and really great to follow. And I think, could we see something like that happen on Zwift? I think 100%. Yes, definitely. And then
I think
and then
right.
They then turn it in. Then it would be really cool. So then if they then turn it into like a series like that on YouTube and just kind of bring in that like elements as well of, you know, you really have some really good strong personalities on the broadcast side, and then you have the really good people who could do some really cool interviews as well, and you could really do something really cool following people through that whole, you know, just interacting with people, talking to people.
So that's the positive answer to all this is like, hey, one criticism on this on the Lifetime Grand Prix thing that is out there is like, which it's not even a criticism. It's just like you have these main personalities that are in it, and then there's like a huge investment even to go and get involved. The cool thing about, right? So like you have to, the privateers that are getting involved, even to be in the Lifetime Grand Prix, not many are making anything out of that other than there's not, you know what I mean? They're not making anything, right? But they're putting in all this effort, and it's like, is it worth it? So there is this crew out there in that privateer sector that are having to put in a lot of work and aren't getting a whole lot out of it. And there's kind of a churn in that top, which is on purpose.
But there'll always be that.
Hold on. Rob, hold on. Yeah. 100%. I agree. And at what level are we okay with that churn? And there's always going to be this tension where you have to have the people who are like coming in and being like, okay, you know, if you don't push back, where's the give? But what's cool about this space is that you just get on in your living room. You don't have all of that extra, right? And so like,
Yep.
So then it doesn't feel as like I can't get involved. I have to take a plane and I have to have 50 sponsors and I have to da 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 da. You can like have that space to find the highest level and the highest competition level that will be able to race for that top 10 or top 20 or whatever it is. That's the Grand Prix of the Zwift world. That's the cool positive takeaway, is that like you can get people aiming at that and really wanting that as a status, as well as, you know, something that they can make on the side. And if it continues to grow, if the motivations are there long term, this could turn into something really, really big where it is actually pro.
And as you said as well, Zwift World, it's global. Anybody from around the world can tune into it if the time zone suits them and can do it. And I think that is, again, it's a massive thing that they could do. Again, you saw the level of the racing and the nationalities involved in the Zwift Games. My word, there were countries in there that I haven't seen racing in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was great. You know, those people making the sacrifices racing from Japan, which was great to see, and such, and which you don't normally see, and you know, it was really, it's something as well. I think, as you said, is that if they can put on a series that kind of goes through and makes it rewarding for the people to be involved in, you know, then they'll come.
Yeah, and that's really hopeful, actually, what you brought in about the Lifetime Grand Prix and kind of like mapping that across and how much we've seen the participation grow and how you can map that across to what we saw with the Zwift Games in the community a little bit too. And that if we can create this, I mean, you've already kind of got it a little bit, right? Like Catherine Furr, Gabby.
Somebody needs to come in and organize a series.
You know, you've got the Freddie Ovid, you have those things that are, they're coming alive the same way that you got Kegels and that you've got, you know, beers and you know what I mean? With Lauren DiCrescenzo. And I mean, you've got these names that are starting to pop up in the Zwift world, and you've got this following with the numbers that you saw on the broadcast. I feel like we could start. And then the idea of having the Grand Prix Light series. And if Zwift Grand Prix goes towards individual instead, I mean, this is some really cool ideas that could happen. So, anyways, I don't know. It makes me excited, super hopeful.
Oh, yeah.
Across the board, I think Zwift Games did an amazing job. That was just a little bit of a critique that I would bring from my, and it really hits home though in some ways, because like Vision Cycling started from, why is it that I'm number one ranked in the nation, in the state as a mountain biker, and like I can barely pay my bills, yet the number one in the state, Brett Favre, is making multi-million. And I was wondering, like, what's wrong with my sport? And that it doesn't get that. And what, and that, okay, like, I'm not just gonna go, mad at the sport. Like, how do you solve this? And then I started Vision Cycling in order to like live in the world of how do we solve the growth of cycling as a sport to make it this awesome thing that we can celebrate in a way that we do see with football, et cetera, and soccer, et cetera. Like, how do we grow it to make it that big? And so I guess the reason why I'm like so passionate about this one thing is because I know from the struggle of a pro athlete at certain areas where it's like, how do we make sure that part served the best? That's all. I guess that's why my main, because you're like, we're focusing in.
As well, I think as well, you'll see the personalities of people, the naturally the influential and the impactful personalities come in and make it, and then when they find something, they'll then, you know, they'll make that difference and they'll try and they'll be a part of it and they'll help drive the change forward. It's just a case of, will they then be given a vehicle, given the opportunity then to help drive that change forward, if that makes sense to you?
Yeah. Huh.
You know, do you get the community and do you get the people on?
Because you could be like, you're gonna get
that whole.
You get them involved, and then like the motivation for them to stay involved though, like after a certain amount of time, like you keep investing. It's like, well, what am I investing in? And like, what, you know, there's just that reality.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you've been around a long time, Barney. I mean, you've stuck it out here, bud.
Oh yeah, chasing the Jarvis Island boys around, and you know, the good old blue men. Until I still remember the day when they released being able to do a U-turn. That was game changing. Riding in two directions. That was. Whew.
All right, let's move on. This was been so that's the Zwift Games, crowned the champions. Freddie Ovitt, Catherine for the epic climb. Freddie Ovitt won. We saw Illy Gardner. Absolutely awesome. Zwift Games across the board was the best racing thing I've ever seen Zwift do. And I'm really excited for the future of it from what we've seen there. And kudos to Zwift on what they did altogether as far as a campaign. And I'm super hopeful to see this. What I'd like to see, like you just said, is it to trickle into a longer season that like creates more things and utilizes the community maybe in some ways too. Like there's a lot of really hard work happening in the community.
And bringing, you said utilizing the community. So then how can we as the people involved in the Zwift Games help Zwift grow the community? How can we be involved in helping them, interact, lead rides and such a, how can we also help them? It's that help. Yes, we can help them grow the platform, but then obviously we're going to get the racing and the series out of them. So it's that heart of that that mutual handshake type thing where we can help them do it too.
Yeah, the competitive side really of creating a system in which to get into the games is similar to what you see with the Olympic Games. You have these disparate nation states that have their own things going on. And I see the community side of racing needing that tooling to find themselves amongst each other in a way in which it points people toward this Zwift game situation. Does that make sense what I'm saying? In order to find that
makes complete sense. Like, it makes complete sense. Somebody will come to like a community that doesn't have the opportunity, or the tools available to them because they're so small to then get involved with the bigger racing and the high level racing. Yes. But then it's also, I think it's also still bringing it back to how can you connect the racers and the people who are at the top with just your average Joe. Your average Joe who's just going and doing a little
does that though too. I think that does that too in some ways.
Huge. No, it
does. But that point about the little badge is a big one. The point about the badge is a big one.
So I'm gonna point it to you that you can drop that in quietly and give them. I think that would be something to be really
quietly. I think we've said it pretty loudly a couple of times now.
Can you hear me calling out for a badge, please?
What'd you think of the ride-on jersey? What did you think of the ride-on jersey?
That was awesome. That was.
You like that? Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I like that. And again, like the whole improvement of that ride-on, like where you see the little thing go out and and the people who get the ride-on get highlighted. I think that's awesome.
Do you think we should have it throughout the entirety of the year, and it's like the KOM jersey, and whoever has the most ride-ons at any time in Zwift in each world would have a ride-on jersey? But during Zwift Games, it goes to just the Zwift Games person for that month, right?
It's amazing to see the influence you see of like Ed Laverick come in, and you see how suddenly, when he came into the climb, now suddenly his whole following comes and descends on it, and you see there you can see how the influence of one person. You see how KK, just a huge amount of like ride-ons that she gets because she's so influential and in her area, and just the impact there. So it's like, what would we see if we bring back some of the OGs?
So then, let's not lose those individuals like Zoe Langham.
Yes.
Like Lizzie Brooke, like these individuals who didn't race the final, who didn't race the epic. Like, let's keep them coming back. Even though all right. I'm going to stop now.
My one wish is I wish I saw the women's. One thing I wish I saw was the women's world champ jersey in that Zwift Games.
Los Adagis would have been cool to see, as well as Ashley Moon and Passio. It would have been really cool to see. And again, I think that has to do with like, well, what's in it for me, and come on, like there's got to be something there.
100%. Exactly. No, exactly. And that's the whole thing that what will, they have to sacrifice out of their own personal time and life to come race. So then is it worth it for them? Do they then want to make that sacrifice?
Yeah. All right. So quick question I'm going to take this real quickly here. Kevin OS is asking, as many esports settle on set maps, and I want your opinion on this, Barney. I have an opinion on this, but I want your opinion. Should Zwift events have some set in stone courses that always show up in these type events to maximize how familiar everyone is with them? I say no. I kind of. What do you
yes
think?
And no, but then also the reason why I say yes is because it prevents and it's not just set in stone, but it's a course that can also be updated and changed ever so slightly to allow for changes, so that it prevents scenarios where we had in the sprint race one where it's just it doesn't fit the type of
Yeah,
racing
okay.
that we're
So there's
looking for.
it's a good
That
point
sort of
in
thing.
order to not end up in that kind of situation. And that's
So
a
you don't
really
end up
good
so
point.
you don't end up with super stale racing. So you can have a set course, but then you're allowed to have input from the community. Say, okay, what would you change? What would you adjust? Would you
And like
add this? Would
no
you add
no
that?
from pretty far out kind of a thing in order to have a lot
Yeah. Time
of
to familiarize.
iterations on it to
Yep.
figure it out kind of a thing. Yeah.
And you're not, but also you're not when you're doing changes, you're not doing like fun. You're not going and say taking the racing from Watopia and moving it to Mercury. Because the racing can be very different island to island, or
So
world to
maybe
world.
like for that Zwift Games coming up, there's just a lot of lead in time to know what it is. There's a marketing aspect to it though too, isn't there, James? Because it's like they really want to do a release of a
New route.
and then
Exactly.
you know what I mean. So it's kind of like we want to get more people riding, but like I think Zwift Games is big enough now that they probably could go. We'll release the Zwift Games routes at this time, and it'll get more people riding them, and then you'll get people riding them again come March when it's time to race them. I don't know. Like you could have a double exclusivity time.
And again, brings in that whole thing of, we wish they could just integrate the WTRL into the Zwift Games and then get the promotion and relegation out of that. You get the.
I wouldn't say just WTRL. I would say.
Well, I'd say as an example. Sorry.
Yeah. I would say.
Then you are getting the fresh talent.
Let's go into the next thing then is what to race this spring, because we've been going on Zwift Games probably like we usually do forever. As if every time it's going to be a long one when me and Barney hang out. But so what is there to race this spring? So from your perspective, I put Chasing Tour, I put Dirt Series, I put obviously ZRL Finals, and I put the Team Time Trial Worlds. Is there anything else that's on your radar in the Zwift sphere that you would say is like a great series that people could go and look at and race this spring?
One thing I've heard great things about, and I think I want to start looking at, is that Flamme Rouge racing.
Flamme Rouge racing? Of course, FFR. Of course. Why did I miss that one? Yeah.
It's day after day, so it doesn't really suit my schedule and such. So I'm really keen for something like that. Obviously always looking forward to TTT Worlds. That's always great. I love those. I love myself a good TTT. ZRL final, sadly, I'm going to be traveling for that first race, so I'll be in Perth for 2 weeks. So I'll be missing the first one. But I'm also, one thing, okay, I'm my little caveat, the courses that they chose for the Zwift finals that they put in the racing that everybody voted for, as courses that we've raced so many times before. Please, can we have, and again, some of the new courses that have been brought up and are available to us now make really good ZRL racing, but yet we're still doing Glasgow Crit for points, and we're doing like RGV for the Team Time Trial. Yeah, that's what I really like, the out and back, because it's something fresh and something quite different for a Team Time Trial.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Yeah, and I think there might be a vote that comes with like, Zwifters are familiar and they kind of just like put something in that they're familiar with because they know something, but it wasn't like they, you know what I mean? There might be like I know this, and I like this one.
That's that set in stone course where it comes back to, because it can then cause stale racing.
Yeah. Good point. Yeah. So sometimes you need a change up. That's a good point. So those are the main picks. Also, I hear Ladder League is going really well. I hear that Ladder League is killing it. Now, I don't know where they're at or anything. I haven't been following really closely or anything with them, but from their reports, they've had well over 1,000 racers in their Ladder League. So that's pretty cool to hear. So if you haven't checked that out as well.
From what I understand is it's basically club versus club in a race, and they basically try race to the line. So it's quite interesting, I saw one, and then at Dragons, then they had some riders have issues and such there with the one, and they were DQ'd or something. I don't know, but it would be interesting to see what the rules are. I need to go have a look up and read up on the rules and what are the requirements.
Yeah, so some of the riders, some of the viewers here might not know what the Ladder League is. So essentially, it's we have gone over it in some episodes past, but the idea is you have a ladder, and anybody can challenge anyone on that ladder of ranking within a certain ranking of each other. And so then the challenge happens. And then if you beat them, you then get your ranking based off of that competition. So you can move up and down the ladder through those challenges. It's like boxing essentially. Like you have these, you put on a bout, and it's team versus team, a 5v5 situation essentially.
Yep. Yeah, and I think that's really cool, and it can also create some really dynamic racing. So again, if you bring in and you can get somebody, you get a whole bunch of bouts, calling it bouts now, happen at the same time, and you bring it coverage, and then you can then bring exposure to it, and you cover 4 races at the same time because you maybe could because it's very similar racing, which I think that'd be cool. And then if you did that, and you could have a veto of you have a list of 5 courses for the bout, and then each team can veto a course, type thing, rather
That's
than
pretty
one
cool.
set course.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Which I think would be really cool.
Then you have a little bit of influence in how it's going to go. You have that draft like you have in Dota.
Like the drafting for CSGO,
CSGO or whatever. You have a draft where it's like, well, let's pick where we're going to have this battle at, okay? And you have a little more influence on what you're going to get into. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Chasing Tour, this goes alongside of following along with pros, but in real life pros. Similar to what we saw with Zwift Games, it's kind of playing that same idea of community connected to the elite racing, except for you're doing routes that the Chasing Tour organizers are trying to replicate the in real life spring races and spring classics and monuments that are going on. So that's what Chasing Tour is all about. Have you done one of these before, Barnes?
No, I haven't.
Oh. I know that there's community teams that are really into this stuff. OMG is like super into it. I haven't actually, I think I raced one with them before, but they're like so all about trying to get these overalls. Like you can get pretty invested in those overall standings in these community series.
And it's something I think is a mistake of me because I haven't done it because I think because of the timing, and every time I've looked at it, it's just been the wrong timing around my training program and the blocks and what's coming up in future. So I think now with such a long unknown until when are the semifinals or the qualifiers for Worlds, so I might then use that as a keep myself sharp, entertained or something to look forward to do on the side of with training. Obviously, because now I'm going into winter, whereas everyone in the northern hemisphere is now crawling out of their dungeons.
I totally forget about that.
And now their focus is away from, you don't really want to be racing indoors. I know Aaron Broly's really excited to now race outdoors. He's just looking forward to being able to ride and not get covered in mud and grit from the British roads.
I want to also highlight the Dirt series here real quickly. Their season roadbook is right here. They start on Monday, March 25th for stage 1. This is a really great series that Dirt puts on Dad's Inside Riding Trainers. You've got Monday, April 1st, Tuesday the 2nd as well. Or it's on Tuesday/Monday. So Simi Tour is ZRL, but it's in between some of the ZRL racing here, as you can see. So definitely go check that out. They've got 7 stages, it looks like. They got EMEA Atlantic, EMEA West, US East, US West. Really good timings for them. Definitely cool to go check out. So if you're looking for something to race as far as team and stage racing, similar to what you get in your ZRL racing, go check out that Dirt series. Absolutely awesome. So, and I think the reason why we're doing this, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, now what? You know what I mean? Like, what's next?
ZRL is finished. Yeah,
exactly. ZRL is finished with games. Is there something else to do? And actually, what's interesting is as we hit spring, there's this whole group of organizers like FRR, Chasing Tour, Dirt Series that put things on that are still, they're not just still going. They're kind of like, this is their time. This is when they really kick off, actually.
Yep.
So
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to just now finding something else and getting my teeth stuck.
Obviously your hemisphere a little bit different. I actually got a message from Sisu about this summer, which we're not going to highlight too much here, but because they're from the lands down under like you, they're like, we got this awesome series coming up in July, and I was like, cool, and like I'm all about it. Maybe we'll do some coverage on it, but I was like, whoa, you're really, oh yeah, duh, that's your winter. I forget about that one. All right, so next up, let's talk about 1.61. And I was like, is there really much to talk about in 1.61? Is it all that big of a deal? But it might not be all that big of a deal for like what we're getting right now out of it, but I'm wondering if it's like hints toward a future for what you said in response to one of the things with 1.61. And that was the online race results. That's an interesting one. Zwift are putting online race results onto their own website for the first time. It's kind of crazy that I'm saying that, but it is for the first time that we know of, that we can find these online at Zwift.com within their results. So online race results, Zwift.com. Race results are now accessible. This is from Zwift Insider. Thank you to Eric Schlange. Via the web. So this is new for the web, offering a similar level of convenience as Zwift companion app race results. Note, you must be signed into your account at Zwift.com for the results to be visible. Race results are available for old events too, not just new ones. So that's an interesting development. Now, your first reaction was interesting though. James, what did you say right off the bat?
I said, is this replacing Zwift Power? And to which you said,
no. I said no. And
so
that was
what is
that's
the
my
point?
understanding.
So then because again, it's like, so we go there, so then as a racer.
Well, here's what does Zwift Power do? What does Zwift Power do for you versus what does the results? Because Zwift Power actually maps a lot more than just the results, right? You map leagues, you map together all of your results for there's a lot more that it does for you in that respect, but you're kind of thinking that maybe this is going toward, but maybe there's other motivations. There could be other things that they're trying to do with that results other than trying to replace Zwift Power.
Because also the thing we've got to remember as well, Zwift Power is something where we've, as riders and racers, we've used a lot towards transparency because it holds all of our dual power recordings.
Yeah,
and for
true.
anybody to go and look, I've got 250, I think now, or 220 files that people can go and look at and compare throughout the ages.
Yeah, so that's the thing.
So is that when they move it, are they going to replace with this new online with Zwift Power from Zwift Power? That would be great. But then, what are they then going to do about this dual power? Are they still going to offer that ability, which I hope they do, if they're going to get rid of Zwift Power? Because is then this one on Zwift.com only used for? Is it mainly used for the people who aren't big Zwift racers, so aren't aware of Zwift Power?
Yeah, I think that might be the thing. I think that's what they need an offering in results that people don't have to go to a third-party website and sign up for a third-party website to find their results, but verified results and league results that are managed by the community, which there is no management of leagues outside of Zwift Power. So, it can't replace it unless they were going to create all those tools at the Zwift website. So, you wonder but I've been told this is not a replacement for Zwift Power. You do wonder though, well, how is the tooling up in the future going to work? And I don't think they're going to use Zwift Power for a future tooling up though necessarily because of what it's based off of. So maybe your main thing is don't kill all the cool things that Zwift Power does. Just make a 2.0 of what is awesome about Zwift Power. Is that more of what you're getting at?
Well, take what they're doing now and then take what's good of Zwift Power and then make a 2.0 version of both of that together.
Yeah.
But don't lose what is good of Zwift Power because now you want to use their own results on their website.
There's a lot of really cool stuff that's coming out of the community that you don't want to lose the cool stuff that can come out of the community by doing something on your own. Yeah, it's a good point.
Exactly.
Make sure. And actually, what's funny is what keeps coming up here, James, is that the community is the resource that needs the most, the focus in a huge
community events portal. Oh wait, whoops. Community events portal. Some way for somebody in the community to set up their own series and events. That then you don't need somebody from Zwift to set up and create these events. You can create your own secret events to then share with your own private series, like in the dirt, which you can then control Is it TT bikes? Is it not TT bikes? Is it draft on? Is it draft off? Is it this
I don't
power
know
up?
if
Is
you
it that
don't
power up?
need
That'd be
someone
great.
to manage that space. I think you'd still need someone to manage that space and work with those tools alongside of the community, but more ability to do more things. And this comes back to like, how do you get this
But
whole
it
space
allows
to grow? Because the sharing idea of the space, I mean, we've said this so many times, and I'm on the program, and again, I need to actually bring in somebody maybe that has experience in the business model space, actually, probably from a very successful either consulting or just a business that has used this model that does the sharing of profit alongside of the creation of the hosting of events, or the product itself is the experience of a community in a space, and that there's some sharing that happens with how you do that, right? And so this idea of what we saw with Echelon Racing League, what we saw with US Nationals, with Canadian Nationals, and some of these other situations where the event organizers get a direct benefit for growing. I mean, you're going to get a lot of people then that will bring more subscribers in. You'll get more and more individuals participating because you're going to have motivation to put on the absolute best events, because competition is a good thing in that space, right? Amongst the event organizers. But you have to have freedom of competition with select organizers that do a good job on your platform.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying give it free reign to anybody to this event portal on Zwift and setting up the events. I'm saying once you have a vetted, and people who do a good job and the Zwift are happy with, they give access to this tool to the people so that they can create their own series and run their own events and broadcasts and series but then Zwift can still oversee and still kind of have the have the all-seeing eye and overseer, but then allows the community to take some of the load off them from having to run these events, and then allows the community to also create a better product.
Yeah. That's a good point. And
then it relies less on Zwift resources, and see what works, but then also relies less on Zwift in terms of resources and time, because now you've given the autonomy and the ability for somebody in the community to do it. So now you're not needing somebody at Zwift to do it for you. It allows basically, say, instead of Nathan,
and it's self-sustaining. It's a self-sustaining thing. Yeah, it's a self-sustaining thing. It doesn't need. Yeah, exactly. That's a great point that can live on its own. Awesome there. So, interesting, because that just the reality of the race results with 1.61 does that little bit of a rabbit hole of like, which way is this going? Because currently that tool exists within Zwift Power that doesn't have really the resources. People have done it in roundabout ways in order to have self-sustaining things go on there, but it's really difficult to make happen. And it should just be a little bit more like just out there. Hey, here's the program, go, another one. So there's 5 new workouts according to what I'm seeing here. I didn't know about that one, actually. There's 5 new workouts, so that's cool. I don't know what they are.
I'm looking for stuff. I like them.
Okay, so zone 3, elevate and escalate, interval power play, resilience ride, speed surge, and terrain toner. They are all 35 minutes or less. So they're very quick workouts. Like good ones though.
I think that's great. I think those are great. And you could take take the resilience ride or terrain tower and the interval power play and stack those on top of each other and have a really good hour session.
Oh, that's a good point. Do one if you really blend and I kind of like that. Them. Yeah. That's a cool. And using multiple workouts within a single go is kind of a cool thing. I've been using multiple big spins. So there you go. Another one like here. Another one that came in here was the faster tri-spoke. It got an update. The tri-spoke with the big wheel. What are we calling the thing? The
Atomic Cruiser.
The Atomic Cruiser. Thank you. Was the slowest bike ever, I think, on Zwift. It was slower than even the gravel bike. Like what? On regular road. Yeah. What? Yeah. I mean, whoa, but they updated it. And And I
But
guess
they updated just the wheel, not the bike.
just the bike. Yeah. Just the wheel, not the bike. Now, it's not that much. So the conclusion that Eric came up with after he did his test, Eric Schlange, thank you so much for all the hard work he puts in over at Zwift Insider. The original tri-spoke wheels were so slow that riders could easily sense their poor performance in races or robo-pacer rides. The updated wheels are much faster, so riders using them probably won't notice a performance hit compared to other rigs. That said, there is indeed a performance hit. Their performance of these wheels puts them mid-pack, and their Lantern Rouge incline performance. So I don't even know what that means. What does that mean? I don't even know what Lantern Rouge means.
Climbing.
Just means slow climbing. Okay, that's what that means. Why does that mean? Where does that come from?
Still the slowest climbing wheels in the game, 8 seconds
They're the
slow.
slowest. Oh wow. Okay. Holy cow.
So it's 8 seconds slower than the Zip 808 disc combo. So I think he means Flanton Rouge in terms of the disc wheel sets. Because this tri-spoke is still slower than the 808 disc wheel set. It's 20 seconds slow on the flat and 8 seconds slow up the Alp. So that's where that lands.
I want your opinion on these as far as the fashion goes, though. I think they're the coolest looking ones in game.
I think they're awesome. In a neutral race thing, I had like Grand Prix
so
when
cool.
we're doing team time trials. They are coming
they're so
out.
Cool.
Like,
they're so cool. Yeah, they're great.
I think
they're absolutely great.
I love the colors. And
and then funky. Somebody posted a video I just saw on YouTube. Actually, I wish I could give it credit. I don't remember who it was showing that. When you change your bike color, it changes the wheel color of those wheels. Actually,
oh, does it?
Yeah, I saw a video. It's in my history. It's in my history. I should give a who did it. It's in. I'm on my Zwift Community Live. I can't swap right now, so I watched it though. Just I don't know who did it, but it's pretty cool. I wish I'd give a shout out to them.
Hold on, I'm gonna fire up my Zwift and.
Are you gonna do it right now?
I'll do it right now.
Oh man. Okay, so also there's a streaks update. So they streamlined the streaks. So they've had this tension with like people not wanting to sit on the streak screen. So they actually made it so you can just push continue now. You don't have to like push multiple buttons. You just go, okay, cool, thanks, and move on. So now you can just move on with one button from what it sounds like. They've also highlighted the RoboPacer location. So if you had hard time differentiating between the route spawn point, the animated route arrow, and the current RoboPacer location are 3 different things that now you can see on the map. So the route spawn point is here. That little gray, there's a little gray marker for those that are listening to audio. There's an animated arrow which shows you where you're going, but then the current RoboPacer location is the little thing that looks like the RoboPacer icon. I think people were getting confused about what was what, and they're trying to like, oh, here is what these all mean. So there's your explanation of what each one of those icons means on your mini map now when you're on your little events. Did you know all that?
But I'm sure that was already a feature existing. I'm pretty sure that was an existing feature. I'm like pretty sure that
what?
There.
RoboPacer locations have always been visible on the map when clicking RoboPacer from the home screen. Today's update enlarges the location icon so it's easier to see. That's what the update is. That's what it is. You're right. That's what the update is.
That makes sense. But I'm now playing with the slider with the color on the spoke wheel. That is so cool.
It actually works. It actually works.
Yeah. I'm
starting Zwift up now too. Oh my gosh, it's gonna take too long. I'm not gonna be able to show it. I'm not gonna be able to show it. Can you share your screen? You can show me yours. Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on.
Don't worry,
I have to change webcam.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I got it.
It is, yeah. So it works. It is really cool. So you can match it. What it does, it doesn't. It's still multicolor, but where the multicolors are on the wheel changes slightly. So, it's cool. Yep. Huge thumbs up to whoever did that. I like it.
Well, it's a cool little Easter egg, a little bit kind of that somebody found it too. Like, because that wasn't widely known. Let's go real quickly here into my garage. I've got the tri-spokes on. There they are with, somebody actually, I got to brag a little bit here. Somebody was like, Nathan, you look like the big spin just like threw up all over you. That's what they said actually in chat.
It has thrown up.
I mean, look at this. This is I got a little bit of bragging in-house. I was the first one to get every item. The first thing I've maybe beat Gabby at in a long time. Because she whoops me on everything. And I can't believe I got everything somehow. I got 4 spins in one go, Barney. It was the first time I'd ever done it. I somehow got 4 spins in one event. Yep. We finished in under 25 minutes. And then I got back in with 0.8 to go. I got back in again with 0.8 to go. And then it put me back again at 3K to go. And I got 4 spins out of it. And somebody commented on my Strava. This is the first time I've deleted a Strava comment because I didn't want anything to do with
this.
This.
The color changing.
Yeah, I will. I'm bragging here. Come on.
Oh yeah, but we want to see the colors, Nathan.
Right,
we don't
care.
We're jealous. We're all jealous of your thing. We want to see the colors. And also, I don't know. Did we talk about the bug that we found with the? Well, I might have found we have about the.
Yeah, we talked about the bug. Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah,
so
don't open the pairing screen while locating for riders.
Wait, why can't I change? Here we go. Oh no! No.
Go to
none of these can change color. Oh, there we go.
Midone.
Ooh, that's pretty cool. Look at that color change. Holy cow. So 4 spins, and somebody commented though on my Strava, cheater. I couldn't believe it. I was like, really? Really? I was like, that's one comment I'm deleting. I'm sorry. He might have been joking. I'm not sure. But there's some people taking it kind of seriously, like doing this moral argument. I'm like, dude, like, it's the big spin, man. Like, it's not a big deal. Like,
community chill thing.
Chill, buddy. You can do it too. Nobody cares. It's okay.
I'm just jealous that you got everything. I'm not jealous at all. I'm just super jealous.
Come on, man. You got to spin more.
Yeah, okay.
More spins. Let's go. You got to time it right. You got to log in just at it's 40 about 40 minutes past every hour. Yeah. Make sure you're logging in and finishing your spins over and over and over again. Oh, it's really funny. So, all right. Well, let's do this is the biggest controversy of all controversies of all Zwifting and of all time, hands down. What the heck is that? What?
Yeah.
You love this thing. You really love this thing, don't you? You don't? Okay, I'm so confused. You do it just to annoy me? Really? Oh my god!
Just purely to annoy you.
You've been wearing it just to annoy me in the racing too, haven't you?
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Seriously?
I got Scotty the squirrel hat. I was so excited. Then I realized when I'm in the race, I was like, wait, no, I need to wear the bucket hat just to get like Nathan.
Look. This hat, because of the look though, it goes up from the regular bucket hat. I have to give. Look.
Okay.
When you put this hat. No, really. Look. The style, usually I can't stand a bucket hat, but I gotta say, when you put it with the rest of the kit, it's pretty freaking cool, honestly. Like, they did that good of a job. Like, okay, they really did.
I did try my best as well, Nathan, for that epic race to try find a bucket hat for in real life, to appear in the broadcast with a bucket hat. And I'm sad I didn't find one.
That would have been amazing, actually, in real life, bucket hat with the bucket hat in game. Now, when you put all this together, I mean, with the bucket hat, I mean, it's actually not, well, it's horrible, but it's so horrible, it's good. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? It's so
you got
horrible.
So negative, you're going positive.
No, yeah, I'm for real. It's so bad that it's good. I got it, like, that's actually what Everything is Photogenic. Check out her YouTube, because she does a lot of Zwift things. Everything is photogenic. And that was her take as well. Like, this whole big spin is so what the heck that it's actually pretty freaking cool, the fashion from it.
But I think it also allows you to also now you can change and mix and match more things. I dig those headphones as well. I think those headphones are really cool.
The headphones are awesome. Yeah,
The
the
headphones
bucket
are
for
really
life.
cool.
Mike Henry's coming in, bucket for life. All these people are loving the bucket. Oh man, they're coming in bucket. What do you rate
Bucket
this thing?
supporters.
So this is. Let's get a rating. Chat. Let us know. Let us know over on socials as well. I'll give this a solid. Oh my gosh, 5.5. Okay, because
I
like
was gonna give it a 5 because I'm on the fence. Like I don't hate it, I love it. Like,
but like the old
but
buckets,
again, I
they
think
got
with the
really
right,
low scores for me. But because it's big spin and the look of everything, 5.5.
but I think it's also it depends on the outfit, the rest of the outfit that you're going with. So again, I think it could be an 8 if you put it with the right pair, like top and stuff. So now I'm jealous of the people who have GBR kit. If they have your national GBR kit, you can wear that hat, and I'm so jealous because now it'll match the kit perfectly.
Look at this comment coming in. Oh man. Look at Mike Henry. Mike Henry. This oh man. He's giving it a 10 and he's coming in with these comments here. Bucket for life. Oh gosh. And then he says, now this is the only motivation he could try and get us with. Make a ZCL one. Oh man. And he gives it a 10. Oh. Appreciate the comment there. Appreciate the enthusiasm, although we have to agree to disagree. Barney's with me on this one. So, well, what are you up to do for the next week or the next, we're not going to see you actually for a bit, probably until next time. We have a missing Anna from the rap.
Yeah, our cameo 2-hour podcast appearances. We don't scare everybody away somehow, and they're still here watching. And what are we in, like an hour 50, I think, or something. Hour 40
something like that. Something like that.
What next for me? I think at the moment work is just really busy, and just I think taking a bit of time off just to mentally reset with all the training and everything, and just try not to lose too much, and then enjoy the last bits of summer here. Looking at a good weekend, so I'm going to definitely be doing it. Getting back on I've missed the chain gangs. I'm looking forward to getting back on the chain gangs and just hurting myself outdoors, and then having a coffee with the boys afterwards. Keeping training with Alex and him, and just then planning out and trying to. Hopefully, we get some more details around the world soon, so then we can just start properly training, like planning out the training blocks and such there too.
Because you got Worlds coming up, so that's the next thing on your radar. Major is Worlds.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one.
We don't know when the next
conversation then about how that competition is going to play out with Worlds and the competition between Zwift and Whoosh. Your attention and where it's going to go and how. That's a whole nother thing. So we need some information because you guys have something to aim at, which with planning takes precedent. And so it'll be interesting to see how things go forward with this whole space. I mean,
yes,
all ships are going to rise, I think, unless the ship sinks. But other than that, I think all ships are going to rise that are alive and are afloat in the space. And I think it's a good thing across. I do want to highlight a comment that just came through real quickly as we were on the bucket hat, as Kevin Osborne has the part of Army Cycling on Zwift. He also has that's a good match. It looks like there with the bucket hat. He's got Army Cycling with the UK Union Jack on the back with the bucket hat. Obviously a good match. Good to see there, Kevin. Thanks for the share over on the Discord. For me, I am actually lifting weights a ton right now. And really, really enjoying it. And it's healing my back so much. And
I was about to say, how's your back doing with it and helping with it and such?
So I found out this week that force work and the back hate each other. I got locked in on my virtual shifting somehow on the Alp to Zwift where it wasn't changing. I think like the connection between my click and the virtual shifting died or didn't stop working. I got stuck in gear 12. And next thing you know, my knee on the left and then my back. And the next day, my back issue came back. So it was like, oh, okay. Now, I didn't throw it out again or anything. The disc isn't bad, but it was like, okay, I found the problem. Pressure in a forced way on the bike is what is causing a part of this back issue, so I need to be careful with that, right? But the further into lifting I get, the more it's healing. So that's a good thing, right? And so I'm just gonna go all in into like, I think I'm actually gonna go all into like a pretty serious back away from the bike. I'm only gonna ride 8 to 12 hours a week, you know, do some intervals, do some fun racing, but like a season of just the weight room and total body weight room stuff. I'll probably put on a good amount of weight, and a lot of muscle, but I think it'll be really good for, did I lose Barney? I think we lost him. Oh, he's there. You like, you went, okay. No, like you were staring like, so like that I thought that you froze.
Oh man, it just shows you how tired I'm at the moment, like work and stuff, and just like, and it's just that whole thing, like, you know, that whole like decompression and just like the body. I think.
Well, I'm glad you can have a chat with me for it, and I appreciate you giving the time, like afterwards. Really appreciate it, man.
I love our rabbit holes, mate. Our rabbit holes are great.
It's good stuff. Well, it's been really great having you on, and really look forward to what's coming next for you. I look forward to what's coming next after the Grand Prix. That's not the Grand Prix, the Zwift Games, but the Grand Prix is obviously on our minds, and it'll be interesting to see where this space goes now as we head toward summer and a lot of planning. This is also a time, let's talk real quickly as we're talking about what you're up to. Like, this time of year is interesting for this space, isn't it? Because it feels like it becomes a creative tension space of like, what's next? You know what I mean? Like, what's going to happen? And you kind of wait for the next announcements.
Yeah, it's like you sit there waiting and staring at your crystal ball, like, okay, so like I'm done here, so now what? Yeah, we don't know. What World's Finals is in October, you know, so you can guess maybe that the semifinals are 2 months before, you know, July, June, and that's soon. If you think about it, that's soon. But we're looking at details with Zwift Games, with Grand Prix, you know, and again, as you said, it's like, you know, you want to be on your best form, but that still takes about 3 months worth of building. You can't just suddenly, you know, do it. And then, yes, you can look at your training and try to keep it at a high level, but, you know, you'll bring it back a bit so that you're not peaking.
Psychologically, you need the motivation too, don't you, James? Like psychologically, if you don't have an event in the future, you don't care. There's nothing to aim at. And so you just wait until you have something. If there's not going to be something, you don't want to put that turkey dinner investment in. You're not putting the turkey in the oven if nobody's going to eat it, and it takes a while to cook, right?
Yeah, and I haven't been on the trainer this whole week, to give you an idea. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Thursday evening.
Wow.
See, that's it. Like, it's literally sat there next to me, looking at me. Great. That's it. But I've been riding my bike.
You should put eyes on it. You should put little eyes on it so it actually looks at you.
But then again, like I've still been riding, you know, commuting, chasing e-bikers around, you know, between my home and the office, which is great fun. You know, trying to hold 45Ks now behind these guys who just absolutely fly down the bike.
Oh, real quickly, a little side note. If you think that Zwift is the only place where there isn't like in esports, that there isn't like technological issues, right? Because everyone's like, oh, it's never going to be an esport because of this or because of that or because of all these things that are so obviously a problem. Literally, ALGS had the pro streamers games hacked in the Apex highest level in the middle of the competition, live on their stream. Suddenly people could see through walls because someone hacked in and gave them hacks so that they would like get busted. Like, exactly. What? That was crazy.
People trying to log in with their accounts.
So kind of just in a related way, like people see the Eddie Ewell issue, they see, you know, these trainers that read too much or whatever it might be. And they're like, oh, it can never be. It's like, there's always issues across all this stuff, but it still lives on and still survives. And there's a way forward, you know, like, so the solutions. And I think Apex is going to find solutions there. I think Zwift continues to push forward, as well as the entirety of the, virtual cycling esports space continues to push forward, which is awesome to see. And that's what I think Zwift Games as well this past week's showed. So, well, James, thanks so much for jumping in with us. I really appreciate it. Everybody, go check out Barney. You can see his tag there, Barney_NZ, riding for next Esports. It's been absolutely awesome to have him here as usual. Hit those follows. And if you haven't done so already with us, we've been live on Twitch, YouTube, and X. Hit a follow button wherever you do, or subscribe, comment, like. It really helps out a ton. And you can also obviously download the audio version over at zwiftcommunitylive.com/podcast, or search The Wrap and Zwift. You should find it real quickly anywhere that you do download your podcast. And I'll be back with us next week for episode number 88. As always, from myself and Barney this week, right on.